Hey guys, welcome back to finally another art video. Today I'm going to be reviewing a 50-pack watercolor pen set from Genuine Crafts. They were nice enough to send me a 50-pack to try out, so I'm going to be opening it up and showing you how they perform. Alright, so that's how the box looks. There's a nice window to show you some of the colors. Okay, and it looks like there's two trays of colors. I'm going to zoom in on one of these pens just so we can see the quality. So this is what the pen tips look like. There is no indication of what color or number indication on them. There's just like a little color swatch at the end, and it also doesn't have a number on it, and then a clear cap, and it's looking like nylon bristles, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna test it out on paper for you guys, and then I'm also gonna do a blend test. So I'm gonna be testing out 3 colors. And then I'm also going to try it out with my water brush. The colors lay out really smoothly. Honestly, I'm not finding much of a difference between these and like the other markers that other companies have been sending me. It all kind of feels similar. It feels the same. These are very lightweight markers, so I wouldn't know how much of the ink is inside or how well made they are, like how long the ink will last and not dry out, because usually, and I've been having this problem with my Tim Holtz distress markers lately, is the way they've been made is just really cheap, like plastic, that if you leave it out for like a couple years without using them, they just end up drying up inside. And even if you like put water to try and reactivate the ink, it doesn't always work, or it'll work for like the first few seconds and then it'll go back to like really dry, streaky ink. So this is how it's working. I can take I think I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna take a really light color and see if I can kind of pick up some of the darker color. It's not really working. I am using 100-pound cold-press watercolor paper. Sometimes like other watercolor papers, okay, and now I'm going in with a brush, water brush, to see how easy it is to pick up the pigment. The dark color for the most part kind of like stays in place, but I am able to move around the yellow and the light orange. I think I'm going to try and do a test with another watercolor paper that I really like using and see if it's going to perform any better. So here's another watercolor paper that I really like using. I'm not sure what it's called. I found it in one of my notebooks, and I just ripped out all the pages so that I could do watercolor paintings on it. I really like it because I noticed with water-based markers I could reactivate like ink that's been there for a while. Like I first put on the dark colors, I waited a few hours, and I came back with the light colors and it just reactivated the ink. So I want to see if these markers would kind of do the same thing on here. So just gonna go ahead again with the really dark. This is oil pastels, by the way. I really need to get back into oil pastels. I know a lot of you guys want those oil pastel videos back, and I do miss painting in oil pastels, but man, do I lack the time to do that anymore. I'm not seeing the darkest color lift yet, so yeah, I mean, I think you have to use this with a water brush, otherwise it's going to be really difficult to get like seamless blends and stuff. So again, like the darkest color isn't moving much, but I'm able to stretch out the lighter colors. Not that much. I mean, there's a lot more blending happening on this paper than on my cold press paper, so I'm glad for that. But I'm not seeing that much difference. So I'm gonna color in an illustration with these markers, and then I'm gonna do a separate voiceover and let you guys know how the experience was. Alright, before I do the speed paint, I just wanted to show you guys some of the swatches I came across. So I wasn't able to label any of these swatches because unfortunately none of the markers had color names on it. The back of the box does have some color names, but unless, like, I would have to guess which color they like correspond to because there is no such labeling on the markers themselves. But what I did notice is some colors look like really similar, like they could pass for the same color. So that was interesting, like these two aquas, for example, these two purples. There's a few others, these two purples as well. So I'm just like, I don't know, like I was hoping for more variety, but with these markers in particular, I'm seeing a lot of doubles. I don't know if they meant to do that, or if the packaging that I got in particular was like, it just ended up having a lot of doubles by accident. So I decided to draw like a Disney princess style Muslim girl. I made her left hand in like kind of an awkward position. I really didn't know what to draw her holding at first. I sketched out an apple and then a crystal ball and then a rose, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to reference any of the other Disney princesses. I just wanted her to be her own character. So I just decided that to put a phone in her hand, a smartphone. She's kind of like a modern style Disney princess. Yeah, I like it, just fit the position of her hand. So that's what I ended up going with. In terms of the marker's performance, it performed exactly how I expected. I've been getting like a couple other of these style markers from different companies, and they all for the most part perform the same. I tried them out on a lot of different papers after I finished this illustration, and I found out that I did have some papers that kind of felt like it had a smooth texture, almost like it had some sort of coating on it to prevent the ink from drying like right away. So I found that those papers worked really well with these markers, to the point where you could, if you were using a water brush, you could blend out the stroke completely and not see anything there. One of these such papers was my Sennelier oil pastel paper, which I did a separate review on when I first got it, and I noticed that it was really smooth to be considered for oil pastels. Although I did try it, it did work pretty well with oil pastels. I wasn't able to get that much layering as I could with more textured paper, but it did still like lay on pretty good. But I did like looking at the paper and feeling it and testing it out. I always thought that this would work much better for like watercolors, and I was surprised that it did work pretty good with it. So I kind of waited to do this video last minute. I do apologize to Genuine Crafts, especially because they gave me the product like very early on this month, and I just waited till the last minute to make the video. So like, I mean, if I did have some time to test it out with my different papers, I could have probably made the illustration on a more appropriate paper and it would have maybe turned out better. I am planning on using it on different papers and possibly different videos, because I am working on a short story illustration. So like, stay tuned for that, and hopefully I'm going to be using these markers again pretty soon. So on that note, I would say that paper is a big, it's a big factor if you want your markers to work well, because if you're using the wrong type of paper, you're going to get really frustrated with this kind of media. And I did have some papers that were like really absorbent, where it just grabbed the color and it didn't allow you to move it anywhere when you were using the water brush. So of course those I stayed away from. The cold-press watercolor paper that I was using for this illustration wasn't terrible, but it wasn't able to move around the strokes. So what I ended up having to do was I used first a darker color, and then I kind of blended it out with a lighter color marker before going in with the water brush to give it a more seamless blend. It was still kind of a challenge to do that, so I really in future videos I'm going to be using these markers with a more suitable paper. I also want to talk about the color selection. I did feel like it was a little limited, although Genuine Crafts sells a 100 pack. I just happened to get the 50 pack, so maybe the 100 pack has a better color selection, but this one in particular I found that I couldn't find a decent skin tone. A lot of the colors that I thought were skin tones were too orange to be used for skin tone, and there's randomly 3 fluorescent highlighter colors that I found interesting. I ended up using them to try and make a pattern on the character's scarf, and yeah, I was surprised how vibrant they were and that they were acting like watercolor. So that's all I have to say about this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I know a lot of my subscribers are waiting for me to make oil pastel videos. I don't know when that's gonna happen again. I am still very interested in that media and I do want to continue. I just have to figure out a scenario where I can keep myself motivated to continue it. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in my next one.